Hi, friends. Welcome to Iron Sharpens Iron. Today, we are going to be talking about servant leadership. And the quote of the day is, "Leadership is not about being in charge. It is about taking care of those in your charge." That's famously said by Simon Sinek. So let's talk about it. Hi, friends. Welcome back to Iron Sharpens Iron. Today, we're talking about servant leadership. And this is another follow-up principle from our interview with David Gonzalez.
Yeah.
I just felt David had so many good examples of this. And his story that I want to kind of hit on today, Solo, is when he was first getting his leadership experience there with his government job. And he talked about how he was given a team and he was given this opportunity to really go shine.
Yep.
But he was being given the team that is the worst performing team in that branch of government. It's like, hey, we're going to give you an opportunity here, but you may feel like you're being set up to fail.
Yeah, it's a rough one.
A little bit rough. But he said that within a year, took the worst performing team and made them, well, didn't make them, but led them to being the top performing team in that respective branch of government. And he did that by being a servant leader. And that's what I really wanted to dive in to today.
I feel like, so for me, when I was early in my leadership journey, I've always considered myself like a servant leader, right? I've had the tyrannical bosses. I've had the folks that, crack the whip. And I was never that. So I got to a place where I thought I was great. And I was leading this group of people that was, I wouldn't say the bottom of the barrel like David by any means, but they were definitely not at the top. And I found through my servant leadership, through really pouring, really giving my all to make the people happy, we stayed where we were. I didn't move to the top. I didn't become, number one. And it really irked me because I would see other folks who I would perceive as not servant leaders rising in the ranks. And I really had to do some introspection and search my heart for the reason why. And I found it. So there's this book called Radical Candor. Have you ever read that book before?
I haven't read it. I've heard of it.
So Radical Candor is about essentially the types of leaders out there. If there's like this chart, it's an XI graph. And X is challenging directly. The more right you are in the X-axis, the more you challenge. And the Y-axis is caring personally. The higher you are, the more you care. The lower you are, the less you care. So X is, I don't challenge you at all on the far left. I challenge you a lot on the far right. And Y is, I don't care at all on the bottom. And I care a lot at the top. And the best place to be is supposed to be in the top right quadrant. That's radical candor. That's someone who cares about you a lot, but challenges you directly. And I found myself considered a servant leader in the top left, where I cared a lot. I cared a lot about you. I cared a lot about your future. Dare I say I loved you. And not in a weird, like romantic sense, right? But in that I care about what happens to you. I care about how you feel. I care about your future. I care about your now, your present. But what I didn't do is challenge you directly. I was the type of friend that told you looked great to boost your confidence, even though your shirt was wrinkly and your breath was stinking. I didn't tell you that, hey man, your shirt's wrinkly, go iron. Your breath stinks, brush your teeth, throw in a mint. Because that hurt people. And in the moment, I didn't want folks to be uncomfortable. I wanted to be that country club manager. I wanted to serve you. And in my small, inexperienced leadership brain, I thought serving you was making you feel good, but it's not what people need. Servant leadership, in my mind, is truly about caring so much that you're willing at times to be the bad guy. I had to ask myself, am I okay with being the good guy in this person's bad life? Or am I going to change and be willing to sometimes be the bad guy? I'm sorry, being the good guy in someone's bad life as opposed to being the bad guy in someone's good life. And I found that being the bad guy at times to push somebody to be their best, when they make a mistake, challenge them saying, I know you could do better. I believe in you, however. Not that tyrannical person that's at the bottom in challenges where they just crack the whip and they just squeeze people like they're just some fruit and trying to get as much juice out of them as they can.
Right.
But someone who cares about someone enough to really challenge them, to really develop them, to really push them to be their best. When I've made that switch into servant leadership, it really changed for me. It changed everything for me.
That's powerful, Solo. I think that you hit on something really important there is the true servant leader, right? They care so much that they want to help people become the best versions of themselves
Yep.
as possible. Right, which is really the whole reason we're doing this podcast is all about personal growth and helping
Yep.
people become the best they can possibly be. But a lot of times, and we can see this all throughout business, is there's a difference between going from good to great or from bad to great, right? And there's the books about this of good to great and built to last. But the built to last part, I think, is where what you were just hitting on is really powerful. Because you can be the autocratic leader, you can be the tyrannical one that's just, cracking the proverbial whip and driving performance. And you can get a team to give more and to be better. But to have a team that will continue to do that is what you're talking about, is where they have to know that you truly care about them and that you're pouring into them and helping them grow and develop into the best person they can possibly be and achieving their potential. And that's where, like David with his example said that he's done this and he's seen it work both in professional life where he took over this team and the first thing he did was sit down and basically just interview everybody on his team. Said, okay, well, why are you here? What do you enjoy about your job? What is it you want to do? What haven't you had the opportunity to do yet? And then they started pouring out, well, I want to do these certifications and I would like to do these sort of cases and get involved with this and that and the other. And he's like, okay, well, I'll help you with that. Absolutely, 100%. I just need you to bring your best self every day.
Yep.
And then in the volunteer through the church, same thing. These people that are volunteering and giving of their time, it's helping them grow. And why wouldn't you see great success from that?
I feel like, so one of the things that's most powerful for me just as a leader, just like one of the things I've learned over the years is how valuable the folks that you're in charge of leading, in charge of stewarding their lives, finds your time. Like your time is truly your currency of love, of care. It's what shows the people that report to you how much you really care about them. So when David said, the first thing that I did is I interviewed them. To me, that means the first thing that I did is I sacrificed my time to just be with them, to ask them, what do you want to do? How do you want to do it? How can I help you in that? And really just spend time with them and being curious, not about what I want to tell you to do to accomplish the goals and mission in my head, but for me to sacrifice my time, my perspective on how things should be done, the goals that I have been given by my leader, and really just understand where you're at. What do you want to accomplish? How do you want to get there? If you look 5 years down the road and you decided to do everything right, to be your absolute best self, and everything worked out for you, you got lucky, God breathed in your direction and everything just lined up perfectly. Like, what would that life look like? What would the best, strongest version of you 5 years down the road look like? Understand that. And then work backwards into how can I help you get to the next step and the next step and the next step and the next step so ultimately I can get you there, because that's my goal. My goal isn't to accomplish this most recent project. My goal isn't to leverage you as a resource that works for me to put out this most recent fire. My goal isn't to get clout off the back of your hard work taking credit for everything that you're doing. My goal is to make sure that you, the person that the good Lord has given you to me to steward, is taken care of. And I think that giving someone their time and prioritizing that time is super important. So practical wise, leaders, managers, especially new leaders and new managers, parents, teachers, anybody that's stewarding another human being or leading another person, make sure that the first priority you have is to give them your time. Don't reschedule the one-on-ones. Don't just talk to them every so often. Don't just hit them up and communicate with them when you need something, but regularly have time with them And in that time, it's their time to get them better, to talk about what they want, what they see, what their vision is. That would be one of the pieces of practical advice I would give to leaders just right up front if they want to make a huge impact and really see people buy into them.
Oh, 100%. We shared in a previous episode about one of my absolute favorite books, and it's my favorite because I really don't have to go past the title page. Is To a Child, Love is spelled Time.
That's so true.
And I think with leadership, we have in society just this mentality that, you know, there's all this prestige and everything that comes with it. And yeah, generally a leader's going to be paid more as you go up the stereotypical ladder. However, leadership, as Simon Sinek calls out, is a choice. Just like being a parent is a choice. Now there's the fun parts of leadership and parenting, right? Like the fun part is making the child. The hard part is raising the child. Right? Once that child's out of the womb and crying and pooping everywhere, that's where it becomes tough. And that's where you truly have to make the choice of what kind of parent are you going to be. And it's the same with leadership. It's really exciting to go into that interview and go for the role, and it's exciting to see the promotion and see what your salary is going to be. But where the rubber hits the road is once you have that first day in that new assignment.
Mm-hmm.
And what you said about time is truly what is powerful. I had an example where I learned this lesson very much the hard way.
Did you?
I had my first foray into management when I was in my early 20s, and I was working for then it was called Apex Alarm, and was doing summer sales where I was leading the install crew. And it was my second year as a manager with this crew, and you know, was super busy, and I was you know, running an office, and like I was it for operations leadership.
You were the guy.
Like we would go rent out these apartment complexes, and so everybody's either bunking up, or if they were married, they'd have their own apartment, but we're all in the same complex. And the office was just a glorified 3-bedroom apartment, and it was just full of boxes everywhere. And so I would go count inventory. I was responsible for like all the things for operations. And so there was a lot of other stuff that I had to do outside of just leading this group of technicians that would go behind and install and service the alarms. And I got a call one day from a member of the team, and they're like, dude, we haven't seen you for a while. Like, we're out. You used to be out here hanging out with us and going into the homes with us and stuff, and we'd love to see you more. You know, my arrogant self as a young 20-year-old is like, dude, this guy just doesn't know what I'm going through.
Yeah, I'm doing stuff. I'm being productive. What are you doing?
I've been here breaking down boxes and counting inventory and submitting it and placing orders and doing all this other stuff before I can get out there with y'all, because I'm just trying to make sure we have enough equipment on hand so you can go do your job and get paid. And you don't understand what I'm going through. So he asked me this simple question. And in my arrogant 20-year-old self, I just vented. Like, I just kind of unloaded on him.
Did you rip him up?
So bad. I started tearing into him about, well, here's all the issues I have with you and all the things I think you're doing wrong. And it just ended bad. And he was so much more mature than me. He says, Jake, I'm sorry. Like, what can I do better? And in that moment, I just like tail between my legs, cowered in the corner, like went and put my own cone of shame on my head. And, you know, it was just like crap. And it would change things for me. I was like, I cannot do that. That is not who I want to be. I'm not in my, it was just bad. And ever since then, I've tried to like keep that under control, where it's like, I cannot let emotion get the best of me. And if I have to get up earlier to go do all this other operational stuff, I need to make sure I'm out with my team.
I love
They
that.
need the time.
I feel like you said something powerful there. It changed things for me, you said, because that's not who I wanted to be. And I feel like a lot of the times we get caught up in doing the work, doing the project, breaking down the boxes, doing the spreadsheets, sending the messages, executing on the tasks. And we forget a lot about the being part. Like, who am I being while I'm doing? Am I being kind? Am I being the type of person that you can count on? Am I being honest and trustworthy? Am I being the kind of boss or leader that you know that is going to make you a better version of you just by being in my stewardship or presence? who am I being? And a lot of the times we sacrifice our being for the doing. And I know I do it all too often because time is a sacrifice, and sacrifice is serving. Like serving another, giving them your time, it's tough. Like I liken it to, if I could be vulnerable, like my kids. I don't enjoy playing dinosaurs. If I did, on my free time, I'd be down there. It's just not something that I would personally do.
Well, why not solo? Like, what?
No, right? I don't build tracks and jump monster trucks. I don't build trains and try to get this all kinds of crazy stuff, right? I wouldn't do that personally. It's not
Anymore.
what I would, anymore, right?
Anymore.
My 40-year-old man self is not going to be playing T-Rex and Raptors on the weekend. What'd you do this weekend? Oh, I had this crazy battle between 3 T-Rexes, a Triceratops and a Stegosaurus. It's like, okay. You probably think I'm a weirdo, right? But what do I do on the weekends? I play dinosaurs. I play monster trucks. I get down with my kids and build Legos. I put together the little wood train tracks and choo-choo. I play pew-pews and hide and seek and tag because all they want to do, to your point, is have time with me and play. And it's a sacrifice. I feel like 5 minutes of playing dinosaurs feels like 2 hours. Because it's just not something that I would choose to do. But when I get out of the what I want to do-ness and focus on who I'm being-ness, I'm being a good dad. I'm being the kind of dad that's around my kids. I'm picturing this picture that is right in front of me that I will one day miss. I will one day look back and say, those were the good old days. What I wouldn't give to play dinosaurs with my son again. To just hang out and play monster trucks, to just sit in the chair and read a story. So I'm going to be my best right now and soak it in. I'm gonna put my phone down. I'm going to get rid of the distractions. I'm going to get rid of the things that I want to do, the missions and the tasks that I have to accomplish. And I'm just going to be a good dad, or I'm just going to be a good manager, good leader, good husband, good father, good whatever, beingness. And it kind of takes the sting away from the sacrifice that is giving someone your time, because you have a million other things that you would prefer to do with your time than giving it to another. But it's crazy that giving it to another, after having done so, fills you up with something special that you could never get from doing a task or accomplishing something. It's funny. It's the last thing that you want to do going into it, and it's the best thing that you've done all day after having done it. It's like working out. No one likes working out. If you do, you're a psychopath, okay? You like pain, you like metal, you like sweating, not breathing well, feeling like your chest is about to jump out of your chest. There's a couple of you weirdos out there, right? But most of us like having had worked out. I did what I know I needed to do for my future. I feel like I'm headed in the right direction. I feel better because I actually did something active with my body, right? But we don't like the going into it, but we love the having done it. And I think that a lot of the time feels like, sacrificing your time for another.
Yeah. So well said. And so let's just everybody take a moment and just let Solo know that you're a great dad. Solo.
Thanks, bro. I mean, I try. I mean, I'm not a great dad every day. And I think that that's kind of the point. Like, some days you're great and some days you suck. Like, man. So if I could be vulnerable with the class again. So work called, and it was crazy this weekend. And I had to sacrifice time with my family. We had a trip planned to the theme park. We didn't get to go. Now, don't judge me, okay? We have season passes. These kids are like spoiled, all right? They've gotten to the theme park more times than any of us ever did when we were children. Like, yeah.
I felt bad for them because I know this happened. I don't feel as bad anymore knowing
that's what I'm saying. We have season passes, bro. Like it's not like it's gonna be the only time. You know what I mean? That said, Daddy made a promise and Daddy had to break it because unforeseen things happen. They come up, right? And the family was cool. My wife is fantastic, thank God. The kids are awesome. But I said, you know what? We got everything done. I'm going to take Wednesday off and I'm going to surprise him. I'm not even going to tell him I have Wednesday off. I'm just going to take it off and I'm going to take him back to the theme park. And in my mind, it was going to be fantastic. We're going to wake up early. We're going to have breakfast. There's going to be laughing, tickle parties, dance parties. We're going to be high-fiving, playing monster trucks, dinosaurs. We're going to go to the theme park, have the best time, right? I woke up and my kids were losing their minds, screaming, crying. My wife looks at me just sitting there, early in the morning. We both have sleep in our eyes, breath all funky, breathing on each other. And she's like, can you take the kids? And I'm thinking to myself, hell no, I don't want to take these little kids right now. But I was like, you know what? I'm going to get up. But it's way too early for you boys to be awake right now, okay? So I got up and I corralled them back in the room, and they were screaming and losing their minds like, look, boys, you guys need to stay in here for a little bit. Daddy needs to go to the bathroom. He needs 5 minutes. I need coffee so I don't rip your little heads off right now, okay? I was not my best self. And they didn't want to go. My wife gets up. Don't worry about it. I got it. So I feel bad. And I'm just like, "Rah!" and like melted down emotionally. Went in the bathroom and sat on the toilet for like 30 minutes. Just feeling like a piece.
You know about this. You shared that story before.
Yeah, I feel like a piece of crap. You know what I mean? Not a good dad. I'm taking off time to be with them, to surprise them, and I'm not even someone that they want to hang out with, right? So I go downstairs and I give them the good news. We're going to go to Carowinds. My wife looks at me and says, they're not open during the week. So the theme park's not even open. So I have to figure out something else to do.
Like, I'm trying to be a good dad. Come on.
I'm trying to be a good dad here. I have plans here. I'm trying to do my best here. And life got in the way. And I noticed that it's not about what we're doing. We don't have to go to the theme park. We don't have to play the monster trucks. We don't have the fun. We don't have to do the things that I think that would be a good dad. It's about who I'm being. And in my attempt to do the right thing, to take them to the place, to do the stuff that I think would make them happy, I'm being the opposite of who I should be being. They could sit in the house and we do nothing but sit on the floor and play, Candyland all day, as long as I'm being happy, being excited, being there, being present. But I was being the opposite. I was being frustrated. I was being short. I was being critical. I was being this, that, and the third. Because I got it flipped, I got it switched around. So I feel like all too often, like Viktor Frankl, noticed when he was in those concentration camps. For those of you who don't know who Viktor Frankl is, Man's Search for Meaning, fantastic book. Hard read, though. Fantastic book.
Very hard to read. Very hard.
But essentially, he learned that you can take someone's liberty, but you can't take their freedom. You could take you could take who they are. You could put them in chains. You could put them in gas chambers. You could do terrible things to folks like this poor soul was in this concentration camp, but you can't take their liberty to choose, their agency. You can be whoever you want to be up here. You could use your faculty of imagination to picture the best case scenario. You could speak kind words and be your best in the face of unsurmountable, terrible, crazy things. And I wasn't doing that. So I switched to being. And I didn't care what we were doing. The things that we did were super stupid. We had water balloon fights and an outdoor water day. And we went to Costco for lunch and we just spent time with the family. But what I was being is present. I put my phone away. I didn't have it. What I was being is kind. I was sweet and laughing and making jokes. What I was being is sacrificial to my wife who was tired because she was going through it just as well. So I noticed that that was the case. But I also noticed that no matter what, you always get a chance to switch it and turn it around. When I was younger, I used to get in a lot of trouble, as you can imagine, right, Jake?
But you and me both.
Yeah, a lot of trouble. I was a little hellion. That said, my dad always gave me a chance to redeem myself. If I went above and beyond to do something great, to show character, to work hard, to do something fantastic, I could redeem my prior transgressions and get back to normal life. And I redeemed myself. And I feel like sometimes we're good fathers, sometimes we're good leaders, and sometimes we're not. You can't control waking up and being on the wrong side of the bed and forgetting that you're being someone you don't want to be. But what you can do is when you notice it, just like you did with that gentleman who said, what can I do better? And notice that I am not being who I want to be right now. You can always redeem yourself and start right now being the type of leader, father, mother, son, brother, whatever that you want to be. And that's what I chose to do this last Wednesday, and I feel pretty good about it. So
You should feel great about it.
yeah.
Your story reminds me of a different story that I did read in that book I referenced. And, you may have heard this before. I don't remember what the title of it is, but essentially the gist of this is this father goes up into the attic and he's going through some stuff and he finds two journals. And he finds his journal, and then he finds his son's journal, who's now grown and out of the house. And he goes through it and he's reading through his, and looks at these days and sees the day, says, went fishing with my son today, wasted all this time, missed all these meetings, yada, 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 like total waste of time. Like I could have been doing all this other stuff for my business and all that. He's like, huh. He goes to his son's journal. He's like, I wonder if he had an entry from that day. And he goes and he looks at it, and his like 6-7-year-old son at the time has this little picture of him fishing with his dad that he drew in there. And he's like, Dad took me fishing today. Best day of my life. And the time thing that we've been talking about, whether in leadership in your home, whether leadership in your personal life, right? Take time. We all need time for self-care and to make sure we have quality time for us to be our best versions of ourselves. That allows us to then be the best version of ourselves for others. So how we use our time is so important. So you said earlier that time is like a finite resource. It's our currency. You can't have more than 24 hours in a day. The only way to get more time in a day is you're either staying up later or you're waking up earlier. It's really the only thing you can do. And so how we use that time is so important. And doing one-on-ones. You mentioned one-on-ones. It's probably the easiest and most valuable thing that a leader can do with their team to truly be that servant leader. But how you structure those one-on-ones is very important. Are you just going in there and tearing into them and telling them all the things you need them to do? Or is it their chance to speak to you about what's important to them? And that's a shift I made, a few years ago, is I've told my direct reports, this is your time. You talk about what you need. And I'll have a couple things to talk about, sure, but it's theirs. And that is how I show they are the most important thing in that time. And maybe it's effective, maybe it's not. Like I would have to have them on the podcast to be able to talk about it.
They love you. I know for a fact they do.
I hope so. So, but it's that commitment. And this is the second principle, and it's related to time. So the other practical piece of advice I would give all of our listeners is to be the most effective leader you can possibly be is show that commitment to the growth of your team. Invest in the time, but you're investing in them and their growth. What are their goals? All right, Ken Blanchard says the first thing in 1 Minute Manager is goal making. It's the first principle he says, and there's only 3 things he talks about: making goals, recognition, and constructive coaching. And the first one is goals. What do your people care about? What is it they want to do 5 years from now, 10 years from now? Who do they want to be? And then you as the leader help pave the way as much as you can. Now, you may not know all the steps. When I was at Vivint, one of the people that was on my team, he had a side hustle as being a videographer. And he got into drones when drones were very new, very expensive, and he would do videos with them. I know nothing about that. Really, the only way that I was able to support is when he had gigs, is I would help make sure he had some time to go do that if possible, as approved PTO, basically. Yeah. But I supported him in believing in him at the very least. And now the guy gets flown all over the world, and he videos weddings for like super rich people all over the world and these destination weddings. And I'm like, couldn't be happier for him. But that's kind of the point there, is that last statement. Support however you can, because as you see your people achieving their goals and getting the promotions or getting a job at a different company, as much as it's painful to replace them, it's so rewarding to see people go on to something bigger and grander. It's like seeing your kids grow up and get married to a wonderful person and have a fulfilling career and do all the things they want to do. What greater reward for the time investment as a parent to teach and train them for 18, 20 years until they're out of the house? It's just wonderful, right? My kids aren't there yet. I know yours aren't either, so little, but I mean, that's what we're working towards as parents. But as leaders in the workplace, pour into your people, friends. There's nothing greater than seeing them achieve their wildest dreams, and know that you at least were able to support it, if not facilitate it.
I mean, if you think about it, that's your goal too. Like, you accomplished that as well. So I was having a conversation with my dad in regards to, I don't even remember what I was talking about, some kind of achievement, award, something. And he said, son, that makes me so happy. I always knew that I'd be able to achieve an XYZ award. And I never have been able to get one until now. And I'm like, what do you mean, Dad? Like, this is my award. And he's like, son, everything that you do, I do. All of the time, all of the energy, all of the sacrifice that I put into you, I had a dream that one day you would be able to accomplish even bigger and greater things than I could. And I see you doing it now. So mission accomplished. Every award that you get, I feel like I got it too. Every accomplishment that you achieve, I feel like I'm sitting there right next to you. And I feel like it's the same thing with us as leaders. If you take the time first and foremost, who was the 1 minute manager guy? What was his name?
Ken Blanchard.
Ken Blanchard. To actually sit down and write goals with people. First and foremost, I don't even remember what the statistic is, but it's something abysmal in that like only 10% of people write down goals, actually have goals. So you just doing that all of a sudden gives them a roadmap of what they want to achieve, because most folks don't even really know what it is that they want. They've never spent time actually getting specific and identifying the things that would make them happy and fulfilled. So you do that. Not only that, you give them recognition along the way and coaching along the way. You pick them up and brush them off and tell them that they're more than they think they are when they fail, and they will fail and they will fall. And at the same time, you'll tell them that they ain't so much, they're not that great when they're on cloud 9 and they're acting arrogant or prideful and need to be taken down a notch, or making mistakes and not looking at them. You're giving them constructive criticism, you're giving them recognition and encouragement, and they get to that goal. If you think about it, you just accomplished that goal as well. And in the eyes of God, you were instrumental in the plan to get that person to that goal. And what better, I would say, blessing could you ask for in the world by being used as an instrument to God to accomplish the big dreams that he's placed in other people's hearts? And if we just take that perspective, we probably would spend more time, our own time, pouring into others. So one of the things I have written down here is I have had an epiphany lately, and I feel like these are where the epiphanies live in our podcast. So I had an epiphany.
Solo, I'm a little concerned because I know your epiphanies come in the shower. So
Hey,
if you haven't had an epiphany for a
I had
while.
an epiphany, you know, man. And it was about the golden rule. You know, treat others how you want to be treated. We all know this. Most of the best lessons that we ever learned in life, we learned in kindergarten, right? This is one of them. The golden rule. Treat others the way you want to be treated. And I always thought that's like, don't cuss people out in traffic because you don't want to be cussed out in traffic. Don't give the bum $1 because if you were on the side of the road needing $1, you'd want $1. Just do the things that you would want done unto you. And it is that. I know it's that. But I think it's more personal. And I had this epiphany. You know, God spoke to me, not out loud. I'm not a psychopath. Relax, people. But in here, you know, and depression. And essentially the conversation went like, look at the things that are personally very jarring to you, the things that really piss you off, and don't do those things to others. So for example, it really bothers me as a leader when my leader is distracted in our one-on-ones. Oh, it makes me angry. Sitting there on the phone or, yeah, that's great. Oh, that's awesome. It fires me up. It's like, am I so unimportant right now that you have so many other things to do? How's that Candy Crush going? And I know it's not intentional, right? It's not that. But it really bothers me. And I noticed when I'm sometimes spending my time with my people, with the folks that are under my charge, that I'm, stewarding their lives as their leader, or my kids or my wife or whomever, I'm distracted. Daddy, look at this. That's great, son. You know, boss, I was thinking that this, oh yeah, that's a really good idea. And I had to be honest and vulnerable with myself that saying, hey, I'm not living the golden rule. This pisses you off, Solo. And you're doing it to them. Don't do that. So I stopped it. Another thing that really bothers me is I have a direct report, I won't name the name, that lights me up when I miss a one-on-one. Oh, it's like, so much not important. Oh, we never get to cries hard about it. And it's like sometimes things come up like, hey, I got to push our one-on-one because X, Y, or Z happened, right? A bomb went off and I just got my leg ripped off. I got to go to the hospital. Oh, the hospital. Your leg's bleeding now? Oh, I guess I'm not important. And it fires me up.
Put a Band-Aid on it, Solo.
I know, right? So what I don't do is golden rule really fires me up. So I don't do that to my boss when he has to skip my one-on-one. Hey, something came up. I'm going to have to push our one-on-one. Hey, no worries. I get it. Things happen. I appreciate you. Let me know if you need me. Even though deep down that we were just talking about how important the time is, it bothers all of us when our bosses miss a one-on-one or the people that we care about, like reschedule an appointment. We get excited for these things. Time is money. Time is love. Time is what we consider somebody's sacrifice for us. So when they miss it, it hurts. But because it bothers me when I have something going on that I have to reschedule, because one-on-ones are so important to me, I wouldn't just willy-nilly reschedule them. I don't give them a hard time because I know it bothers me.
Yeah.
So that's just one of the, the epiphanies that I've had in regards to the golden rule. Really search your heart and find out what bothers you. And just don't do that to other people, because typically the things that really bother you are the things that you have a problem doing to others. And you got to work on them.
Yeah, that's good. It kind of goes along that whole vein of humility.
Mm.
Right? Is be willing to be aware, like be self-aware enough to recognize, like you're saying, when you're doing something yourself that really bothers you when someone else does it, right? The hypocrisy, right? Be self-aware enough to recognize hypocrisy in yourself.
That's a good
But also
call.
just be humble enough to change and accept advice.
That's a good
I
call.
had a direct report. I won't name names either. It doesn't work for me anymore, but he had the courage enough. Now, I applaud him for this, because one of the single hardest things for people to do is to tell their boss when their boss is doing something wrong or doing something that annoys them or doing things, right? And he told me one time, he said, Jake, I really don't appreciate it when you just like put me on the spot and in meetings expect me to be prepared to talk about something, and you didn't let me know you were going to be calling on me. I'm like, okay. Like, it's not necessarily that the topic or the project or anything wasn't something that he wasn't aware of, like he was actively working on it, but he had a very hard time being able to just speak, without a lot of preparation. He wanted a chance to kind of think through his thoughts ahead of time, and that's fair. Right. But being able to tell me something like that, or saying like, dude, you called me out, or whatever it was, being able to having the courage to do that. Now, I could have reacted in one of two ways. I could have been like my old self, my 20-year-old self saying, well, you know what? I don't appreciate you doing X, Y, Z. Why don't you fix that before you ask me to fix myself?
Yeah.
But no, I had learned my lesson, thankfully. Like, I appreciate you bringing that up to me. That's something I can easily work on, and I'll try not to do that anymore. And if I do it again, let me know, and I will change. But I'm not a perfect person. So humility is huge. I don't know how you could be the servant of others, as we read in the Bible. He who would be greatest among you, or he who would be a leader, first be the servant, and you can't do that without humility. Be humble is one of the things I would definitely say. We talked about time. Invest of your time for others. Pour into them. Make their growth your single greatest objective. And I think these three principles, I don't want to overwhelm our listeners in 1 week, but like 3 key principles here, friends. Focus on those and just watch magic happen. And the last thing I will say, and it's not really an extra one, you have to be authentic about it.
Oh, yeah.
This isn't something you can fake, right? If you truly don't care about those on your team, then ask yourself the question, why?
Yeah.
If you just see them as a tool in the toolbox, or, the crayon in the box, like, why? Because they're human and they have wants and needs and families just like you do. So pour into them, but be authentic.
That's such a good call out. I feel like we should spend an hour talking about authenticity in leadership, and how you really do have to dance to the beat of your own drum and be who you were called to be. I truly don't believe, and I know that this flies in the face of where we are in society, but I do not subscribe to the thought that anybody can be anything. I don't think that that's true. I think that you can be anything that God has created you to be, and you can be you better than anybody else. And I see all of these new leaders trying to fit into this leadership or management mold that just doesn't suit and serve them. It's just not who you are. They're funny and they're being serious, you know? They're serious and they're trying to be funny. It's like, just be you. Be your authentic you 100% of the time. And you be your best you, obviously, and learn, to your point. Take the feedback, but be you. Going back to what you said, Jake, you gave me a thought, man. I'm going to do this. I'll be learning stuff from you every podcast, bro.
Oh.
I appreciate you.
Right back at you.
So I am going to literally, in this next week of one-on-ones, seek feedback from the people that I'm serving and say, what am I doing that pisses you off? And I want you to be honest. What are some of those things? I'll go over the golden rule. Like, I noticed these things irk me and I don't want to do them to you. But what are the things that I'm doing that may irk you so I can get better? So I can be a better leader to you. So you could want to work for me more. You could respect me more, and you could feel better about, you know, what our relationship is. And at the same time, maybe, just maybe, I could lead by example and you could do the same thing for your team. And then everybody on the team gets to say, be vulnerable enough, like your boy, that gets to tell boss one thing that really he didn't appreciate. And the boss gets an opportunity to be their best, be humble, and grow from that experience. Because there is a lot of, one of the things that breaks my heart about being in the seat that I'm at is that truth is rare commodity these days.
Sometimes, yeah, I feel the same.
It feels like that, doesn't it? With some folks. The reason why I love, well, I'll say Myra Reynolds. Myra Reynolds is a person that works under me, and she will tell me if my idea is stupid and kick me right in the teeth if it's dumb. Everyone else, I'll say something, oh, it's so cute. Oh, it's the best idea ever. It's like, really? You know, putting Twix in the bathroom as opposed to toilet paper, you think that's a good idea? Yeah, we could have chocolate on our fingers and we could just be eating in there. It'll be delicious. It's like, I don't know if that's a good idea. It may be unsanitary. But I threw it out there. But Myra's like, Solo, that's the stupidest idea I've ever heard you say. You want to put candy in the bathroom as opposed to toilet paper? Why? You trying to get, you know, you're trying to get sick? And I feel like everybody needs to flex their muscle to tell not only the people that are in your charge the truth about them, to make them grow, to develop them, but also leading up to tell your boss the truth about how they're leading to maybe help them grow as well. And that is a scary thing. That's almost an impossible thing. But I think maybe we can make that easier for our subordinates by doing it, just opening the door for them and then showing that their feedback won't be met with wrath, condemnation, but open arms, humility, and growth.
There's a fear of retaliation. I think what I'm thinking through your directs, because I obviously know them, I have a good idea who might just like, here it is, Solo, I'm glad you asked.
I know. Well, I mean, it's going to be,
It'll be fun.
Try to do, I say, what can I do better a lot? Yeah. But I've never hit him with the, what am I doing that really irks you?
Yeah, I know.
You know?
You have to let me know after.
It'll be good. It'll be good. Hopefully it's not a laundry list. Because if I come back next week with my, you know, tail between my legs, all like hurt, you all
Solo is absent next Friday.
Yeah, I know, right? I ain't doing this podcast no more. Leadership sucks.
Well, no, he's still crying on the bed. No, but it's an interesting one because it immediately lets you know. Right, depending on how these conversations go, because I've had these conversations. It's been a little while. I may have to do that. Maybe time for me to ask the question again. It lets you know the strength of trust that you have with your team.
That's a good call.
If they trust you enough to let you know, then you know that you've done a really good job, because it is really, really hard. And I'll give an example of this. So my very it was the second leadership training I ever went to, and we were learning crucial accountability by Vital Smarts. We had a facilitator there. We're doing the whole program, and there's an exercise there where we were supposed to get in teams with our boss. Now, I had my boss for 6 weeks, maybe. That was actually the first time I think I had been at a conference with him. And so we're sitting at this table, and the exercise was to give constructive feedback to the people at the table. And so everybody was supposed to do it for everybody else at the table. And I kid you not, I had to get kind of creative with how I messaged it, because I was so uncomfortable doing it. I'm like, brand new boss, the first time as like a regional manager here. And I was the only one that did it.
Nice.
Everybody else checking out. Well, you're like so good, and there's nothing you can do better. And like, best boss ever, man. And so my feedback was, you know what? And it's funny, Steve, he's going to be here in 2 weeks. I was like, Steve, when we have a team call, like our conference calls, kind of feels like you want to be somewhere else. Like you're just doing it to do it. And you know, you have to do it, but you don't really want to do it. And, you know, Steve's wonderful. And so he obviously wrote it down and worked on it. But
That's such good feedback.
really, really hard to do something like that. And it was like one of the most uncomfortable things I've ever done with it. But obviously he validated the trust I put in him for that. The thing is, friends, leadership is one of those skills you will never be perfect at.
No.
It's one of those things you will always be able to get better. So hopefully the 3 tips and challenges we gave you today, right? Be humble. Ask for the feedback, accept the feedback, and work at it, right? Pour into others. Make them their growth your top priority, and do that by giving them of your time, your precious time. The further up in the proverbial ladder you go in corporate America, the less time for these sort of things you're going to feel like you have. There's going to be more meetings and more calls and everything else, and you know, the boundaries between work and personal life start to blur more and more and more. However, make that time, invest in your people, and they will reward you with bringing their best selves every single day. We heard it with David a couple weeks ago when he talked about taking the lowest performing team in that branch of government he works for to the top one in 1 year. And they didn't just do it once, they stayed there, because this model is truly built to last. So friends, we want to talk real quick about next couple of weeks. Next week, we are doing a special episode for all the wonderful mothers and mother figures in our lives, because it's not just whether you are a mother yourself, but you know, the wonderful women in our lives are mothers to all, truthfully. And then in 2 weeks, we have Steve Myers, who I'm very excited to have joining us, one of my best friends and former boss. And it's not all the time that those two things go together. In this case, it does. So thank you for listening, friends. We love you.
Love you.
And we'll see you next time.